Hey guys, Yankee here, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Volume 31 of One Piece. Before we get into the actual video, image you're seeing right now, I'm sort of in a weird spot where I can't just record my shelf right now, so I've got a picture of my shelf, and I'm just going to put a picture of One Piece Volume 31 there. Forgive me, the next couple of videos like this will probably be the same. So anyway, moving right on to Volume 31 of One Piece. Well, first of all, I love this volume. This is one of my favorites. Most of it is a flashback, and I think it's the first flashback in the series that doesn't really have anything to do with our main characters. I guess the closest thing to it would have been the Vivi flashback, but she was a main character for a long time. But this one is like so disconnected from everything. It takes place hundreds of years ago, and obviously it relates to the story that's going on now, but it's so far in the past that none of these characters show up, except for one. The big snake from previous volumes is in this, but aside from that, like, all these people are dead. So, 400 years ago, an explorer named Norland, who would later become Nolan the Liar, who we heard about all the way back in Jaya, went to the island Jaya and met with the Shandians. And one in particular that's important to the story is Kalgara. And we're hearing this flashback, like it's being told to... Okay, this is a flashback within a flashback. So it's young Wiper being told this story from the Elder. And so this story is relevant to Wiper because he is a descendant of Kalgara specifically. So Nolan gets to the island, and he notices that there's a bunch of sick people. He is an explorer and a botanist, and this sickness that is inflicting a bunch of people in this tribe is something that he is familiar with, and he can help. But this tribe is sort of very different, and they're doing like human sacrifice and stuff. And Nolan has a problem with that and sort of interferes. So we get basically they're sacrificing a person to a god, and the god that they're sacrificing it to is one of the big blue snakes that we've seen in previous volumes, the one that ate Luffy. Not that specific one, but they're about to sacrifice a girl. Nolan steps in and kills it, and everybody freaks out, obviously, and Nolan ends up making a deal with the people of this tribe and says, look, I can heal your sickness. Just give me some time. I'll get what I need, and we'll fix this. And the Elder, who just took over for somebody else, was just like, all right, you got a day. Like, what could go wrong? We're dropping dead here. The god we were about to sacrifice this girl to is already dead. Go see if you can fix it. So Nolan goes off to try and find a specific tree which they can make medicine out of. And during this time, while he's out searching, and his crew that came with him is being held hostage and will be killed if he doesn't come back, there's an earthquake. And this is a reread for me. I've mentioned this a few times as I'm going through these One Piece volumes. Every time I read through this, I pick up on little details that I just hadn't noticed before. There's an earthquake and a landslide, and Nolan gets trapped under the ground, and he spends almost an entire day stuck trying to free himself. The earthquake and the landslide, it's not explicitly stated that it's because of the knock-up stream, but like that's what's got to be, right? Like the whole ground cracked when this happened. So when this part of Jaya eventually gets shot up into the sky, it's not like one day the knock-up stream appeared underneath it and just blew it up. This was something that had been happening for a while, and then eventually it's just the island couldn't hang on anymore and got flung into the sky. So that's something I noticed. Nolan is trapped in the ground. What is his name? Kalgara sees him and just sort of watches him for the whole day, struggle trying to get free, and then eventually just sort of seeing him struggle that whole time, eventually saying his piece, Kalgara frees him, and Nolan was able to help. He saved these people, and Kalgara and Nolan become good friends, and we see like a lot of moments of them just hanging out. They end up staying on the island for a whole month, just sort of exploring, right? And during that time, Kalgra and... I keep forgetting their names. Kalgra and Noland. Sheesh. Kalgra shows them the City of Gold, right? And basically says they can take as much as they want. Explains a little bit of details about the actual city and how war caused the city to fall, and they're just sort of watching over it. They're not watching over the actual gold itself, they're watching over the bell, and not even the bell specifically, just a part of the bell, which is a poneglyph. They can't read it, they don't know what it says. All they know is that the people that were there, their ancestors, fought to protect it, and so they are keeping it safe. What do we have next? Oh yes, we also have the name of the bell, which is the Light of Shandora. So they also explain this, where every time it rings, it's sort of to lead the dead from their tribe back to the island, bring them back home, right? We let out this sound so they can find their way back. And they even mention how, at the start of the volume, the only reason Nolan even knew this island was here was because he heard it. So the bell led him here. Eventually, we get some animosity again, and we don't know why, and it's one of those things that it's a misunderstanding, but like, all you have to do is talk, and like, this could have been solved pretty easily, but because you didn't, it just made everything a mess. The disease that was inflicting the island, I think they just called it like tree fever. It's a disease that infects people, but also infects plants. And so it infects people, people get sick. They infect plants, they get sick. And like, the plants infect people, people infect plants. And it's just like a cycle until a whole island is wiped out. And so Noland and his crew, who are botanists, they went around the island looking to see if there were any infected plants. And there were trees, white trees, that were infected. So they cut them down. But unbeknownst to them, these white trees were where the souls of the Shandians' dead ancestors come and stay and live. And nobody told them that part when they were explaining the bell. We just glossed over that. That's not important. So again, one of those things where it's like, if you just told us a little bit more, we've been here a month. You could have just said, oh yeah, the souls of our dead come and rest in these white trees over there. Don't touch them, please. That would have been a big help. But yeah, so they cut down all those white trees because they were infected. We get an interesting send-off where Noland and his crew leave because they feel unwelcome. They finished basically taking care of all the poisoned plants and stuff, so they're just taking off. They leave all the gold behind. Kalgra's daughter, Muse, had went to Noland and asked the ship doctor, like, why they did what they did. Got an explanation. Told her father, Kalgra, and he ran off because obviously they had been good friends, and they're leaving on a pretty terrible set of circumstances. And then we get their goodbye. There's also the bell, again, the bell. They rang it to lead their dead back to the island and then rest in these trees. They cut down the trees, they stopped ringing the bell, and Noland and his people didn't really know why. As they're leaving, the bell rings, and they make a promise, like, we're going to ring this bell, you better come back, we'll ring it every day so you can hear it again and be led back here. So Nolan goes back to his country in, I think, North Blue, tells stories about his adventures, talks about the City of Gold. And so the king of his island decides, hey, there's a whole City of Gold, let's go and get that. So the king and his soldiers take Noland with him. And it's a terrible journey, basically. Like, they lose a bunch of people, lose a bunch of ships, because the king's greed has put him and a bunch of untrained people on these ships to go to this place far off, and they get themselves killed. they get there and it's gone. The City of Gold is gone. The Shandians are gone. They had already been knocked up by the knock-up stream. And so the king is upset, calls Noland a liar, and has him executed. And then we get... the way this is told, it's not difficult to read, but trying to explain it in order is a bit tricky. So, like, this is a flashback in a flashback, and then we get to the part where Noland's getting executed, and then we flash back again to when Jaya got launched up, which happened a year before Noland returned. So they were just hanging out, and then the island got blasted into the sky. The people that lived on Skypiea at the time, they heard the bell, and the kami at the time said, all right, this Verth is now in the sky. Obviously, it's a sign. I should be living there. I am the kami. And so they wage war on the Shandians as soon as they land to get them out of there so they can take the land. And eventually they do. And Noland's executed, and Kalgra dies in battle. And this is another detail that I never realized before. I'm sure I heard it. It's probably one of those details where I heard it, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and then forget every time. Muse and Seto. Seto I haven't talked about. He's just another villager, but he was kind of important. He had a few, like, moments in the flashback. They ended up getting married, and so Wiper is a descendant of him. Alright, that's the flashback. Noland executed. Kalgra died in battle. The bell never rang. That is sort of like this big regret where I forget exactly how it's worded, but Kalgra, once battling in the sky starts, is like, we gotta ring the bell. What are you gonna do when you come back and we're just gone? We gotta ring it. We gotta let you know that we're here. And later on, that's sort of the same thing Luffy is trying to do. So now we're back in the present. Enel is just going crazy. He destroyed the village the Shandians lived in. He completely destroys all of Angel Island. So there's, like, no place for anybody to live. He even destroys the place where he used to live. The little area in the clouds up on the island for the Kami. He's just destroying everything. He's going to destroy the whole island. He wants to knock, like... I forget exactly what he says, but he's like, I'm going to knock the land back down there. Shandians, you're people from the Blue Sea. Let me destroy your village. Hopefully you fall down, right? So he's going crazy. Luffy is running up there trying to get Nami, and then Nami's already down. So she meets up with Luffy as Luffy is trying to get to Enel, and he sort of explains what he's trying to do. He doesn't want to just stop Enel. He needs to ring the bell. And the reason he needs to ring the bell is because Cricket and the monkeys down on the ocean are searching for the City of Gold in the sea. And he needs to ring the bell to let them know, one, it's real, and two, it's up here. Like, don't waste your time searching the ocean anymore. The City of Gold exists, it's up in the sky. And so that's that. Luffy can't be talked down from that. I don't care if the island's getting destroyed. I need to do this. And so the end of this volume just sets up basically how they're going to get to Enel, who's flying in the sky. He's found the bell and is getting ready to take it. The big vine that's in the middle of the island, what is it, Giant Jack, I think they mentioned before. They're going to have people on the ground, so Zoro, Robin, them, cut it so it starts to fall, I think, to the west. And then Nami is going to ride her waver up it and get Luffy up to Enel. And so that's the plan. That's where it ends. And we also have Enel preparing another massive attack to basically just wipe out the island. And that's the volume. All the Noland and Kalgara stuff I love a lot. This is one of my favorite flashbacks in the series. I think it's really good. Again, it's got misunderstandings, and if people had just talked to each other a little bit, this wouldn't have been an issue. But I think, like, it works out in the end. The problem is just how it ends. And, like, not a problem for the story, but just, like, it's unfortunate for the characters, right? Like, Nolan dies not knowing if they're okay. Kagura dies just trying his best to send a message to say, hey, we're in the sky. And it's an unfortunate ending for them, for two characters I really like, but a good story, right? SBS stuff, I didn't really see anything interesting there. Like, I didn't see any details about, like, characters that I thought were important or anything like that. It was a pretty silly SBS this volume. And the cover stories with Ace, he has... What is he doing? He's trying to deliver a letter, right? That's how the last volume... What happened in the last volume. And he's on a Navy base just sneaking around trying to blend in. This one, like, ended with a Marine ship with, like, secret intel on it. Coming into port, it gets attacked by pirates and it catches fire, and then somebody is jumping into the burning ship. And that's how it ends. Obviously, that's Ace, who's pretending to be a Navy soldier right now, going to, I assume, help people. But yeah, really, really good volume. We should be getting close to the end of Skypiea. I think 1 volume more? 2 volumes more? Not many. But yeah, really good volume. Again, one of my favorite flashbacks. I think Noland and Kagura's story is great, even if it doesn't have a happy ending. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.